Hey guys, I'm MeeMee and I do Allsorts. And as you can tell from the title of this video, I'm not doing one Scrawlrbox, but two. I'm the kind of person who is an absolute stickler into wanting to do all of the videos of, the Scrawlrboxes and that. You've seen many YouTubers do like 6 months all in one go, blah blah blah. But I'm like 6 months behind in this already, so I thought to make it a lot easier on me, because I do not want to do 6 individual videos, I will start merging two together and try and get through them a lot quicker. So anyway, like I said, we have two Scrawlrboxes, and so my aim is to mash these two together and make one piece with whatever I have. Is this going to be a good idea? Well, that's the mystery. So here I have two totally different months, simply because as of filming it is September. So where I left off it was March, so I've got April's one here. But because it is now September, the most recent one I have is September's box. So instead of doing like April then May, what I thought, because this is going to sound a bit stupid, my thoughts on this was to combine April and September's box, simply because my dad passed away in April like over 10 years ago, and my birthday is actually in September, so I thought I'd combine the both of them. Also as well, since September's the most recent, I actually want to be caught up with it, so that's what's happening. Okay, so without further ado, I have been waiting a hot minute to see what's in these, so let's start with April's. So I have no idea what's in these, I've just taken them straight out of the boxes. We're starting off with the Scrawlrboxes, which looks absolutely amazing. It kind of looks like a tiger print. So we've got the info about the materials and the artist, hints and tips. And speaking of featured artists, this is a really beautiful picture of a tiger. And this is by Cecilia, and I'm so sorry, I'm not going to attempt to try and butcher that name. So I do apologise, Cecilia. And the paper for this month is an A5 toned drawn paper with 10 sheets, and it's 115 GSM. And so that's what that looks like, and it's almost like parcel paper. It's very rough and I actually quite like it. The first up we have a pencil sharpener. It's got like 2 different sizes to it. I don't know the actual terms for it, but there you go, bog standard pencil sharpener. Then we've got this Factors eraser. Now I'm not really too big on these kinds of erasers, but it's always useful to have one lying around to do large areas. Then one of my favourite brands, which is Unipin. So this is a fine liner. Don't know if you can see there, but it's an extra fine brush, and what a mighty fine brush that is. So I'm really looking forward to using this. And last but not least, we have these Derwent 6 fine art pencils. They don't give you much in terms of what pencils they are, and inside we have these really beautiful coloured pencils, and I have to say these colours are really beautiful. They're like dark and muted, so I am looking forward to see what's in the other one. So I'm kind of hoping that these will work with whatever's in the September box, because these could be used as like details on top if they will work. So let's find out, shall we? Okay, so this is September's box, and of course we have our Scrawlrboxes, and it's got really lovely like autumny colours to it, which I so love. And this is our featured artist, and it's quite colourful, but and there's the featured artist, Team Jurassic, and he's on paper, it's cartridge paper. I'm not exactly a big fan of cartridge paper. It's 180 GSM, 10 sheets, acid-free for longevity. Smooth cartridge paper, ideal for drawing and scrawling with with pens, markers, pencils, and much more. So it's by a brand called Frisk, and they've collabed with Scrawlrbox. Ooh, that's such a nice thick paper. And here is what we get in September's box. So we've got our destruction list that we'll look at later. A Scrawler sticker that matches the featured artist work. So first off, we have a dough and technique eraser. The one thing I noticed is that it's a clear eraser. Now I actually do have one of these from a Zenpop box, and essentially what these do is then you put a line on the paper and you can actually see the line through the translucent eraser, which is amazing. And it's actually quite nice to see that Derwent's actually done one of these, and so I'm super excited to see how this works out. And not only that, but we do have pencils to try it out with. Right, and next up we have a pencil by Lyra. I have no idea what size this is, but it looks like an ordinary HB pencil. And last but not least, we have 5-Pit Artist Pen Dual Markers by Faber-Castell. Now, I'm not exactly a huge fan of markers, but I'm actually really intrigued to see how these ones actually turn out, especially since I've never tried markers from Faber-Castell before. I tell you what, there's a lot of packaging to this. So we've got like a sleeve, and then we've got like a matching box, which opens up. We have a pamphlet, and we have our markers in like an orange, a red, a blue, green, and a brown. And so a closer look into the barrel, and nice and chunky. The end caps, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little notch then, so it doesn't roll off the table. On one end you've got a brush tip, which I love, and on the other we have a bullet tip, which is even better, so you can really get the details in. And so far I know that everything is going to work really well together. A good technique then to do know is with illustrations you normally put down the markers first to cover a wide area, because that would take forever with pencils, and then you put pencils on top for like shading and details. So I really looked on this one. So it seems like an absolute no-brainer that I am going to be using the cartridge paper, but I am going to try everything on the toned paper just to see how that works out, because I don't really work on toned paper that much, so it'd be really interesting to see how even the markers, react with it. So I'll get that set up. Okay, well, that was extremely weird. For some strange reason my camera literally stopped recording. But you haven't missed anything. I just literally laid down the last pencil and my camera just decided it wanted to stop recording. Never mind. But I really do love how bold these colours are. Well, if I move out of the way, you can actually see how nice these colours actually are. And actually in this terrible line tin, they're actually true to what I'm looking at. As I mentioned before, I'm looking forward to using this. And I really do love that. Right, and onto the pens. Now I've just delved a little bit deep, and these pens are made with India ink, so that means they are going to be like permanent. They're not alcohol based, so they aren't going to be able to blend in with each other, which it's a bit of a pain, but oh wow. I tell you what, that is a very firm nib, and the barrel ends like very chunky. And I have to admit, I really do love the colour selection for the markers and how beautifully vibrant they are. And I mean, it's not actually that far off from the barrel either. I know you can see it's off the screen. And definitely not far off. So what I've done here is that I'm just scribbling down some pencil just to try on the erasers. So I'm going to start off with the Factor Spawn, which I really hate the texture of. Even though then it has picked up, it's still there if you can see it. And now with the transparent one, yeah, I'm still getting the same leftoverness of it, but in all honesty, it does actually work quite well. Now I have actually tried to see like the pen underneath, and I held it up to the line, but I cannot for the life of me make out anything underneath. Even though that this is translucent, it's not as translucent as the other one that I have. Yeah, I'm trying to look in like 4 pencil cases. I'm not kidding, I actually have 4 pencil cases and I can't find it. It should have been in the frog one because then it's got like all of my all-time favourite art supplies in, but it's not there. I'm really upset now. But yeah, and this one isn't as translucent as the one that I have. But anyway, like I said, I've done the exact same on the tone paper, and they have actually come out a lot like more muted, a lot darker, and so but the wine does actually show me quite well in it, which I actually do quite like. But I think for whatever purpose that I'm going for here, and I'm going to use the cartridge paper because it's a bit thicker as well. And just looking at the back, you can see that there is no bleed through. You know, not even any ghosting, even though that you can actually see it. But it's not like bleeding through. And let's see what our Scrawler challenges for April and September are. And for April we have Walk on the Wild Side, and for September, Fascinating Folklore. So I think what I'm going to do is combine these two together and see what I'll come up with. Now we've seen everything in the box and I know what I'm working with, I'm going to have a think and I will get right back to you. Okay, so this is one that I came up with after looking at the colours and the prompts. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I've been on this massive kappa kick for like the past few months and I don't know why. So I came up with this idea of like old Japanese art. So what I've got is I've got the kappa down here, and I've got like some really illustrative stuff in the background, and like just simple leaves and trees. I have no idea what flowers they are, but they kind of look like British chrysanthemums. And then I've got like just bits of foliage, and you can't really see, but there's like a waterfall in the background, you know, basic but effective. And in the background I did actually come from like the new cutaways in One Piece, so that's kind of like where the background idea came from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the marker and then I'll go on top with the pencils for details. Right, so let's get into it. And if you don't know what a kappa is like a yokai or a demon in Japanese folklore. I would actually recommend to go into Wikipedia and to reading up about it because it is actually quite interesting. So what I've done here is I've got the kappa dancing about on a riverbank, and I don't know if you can see this like sun thing. That is supposed to represent a soul. And so far I really hate the markers on this paper because I'm not able to blend it properly, and I'm getting all of this overlapping, which does not look nice. And at the moment I am using the nib, which is actually really nice. And also as well with this, I'm not looking for perfection, because if you've seen like the old Japanese art, then you'll know that it's not exactly perfect, but I really do love the style. And I did actually change quite a bit when I was sketching it, because the 3B pencil was like so thick and it was making such a mess. So I had to dig around in my pencil case to find a small pencil. Oh, I really do love this red, and hopefully I can add all of this overlapping as well. Okay, so I'm the kind of person who doesn't exactly do research until like much later into the project. This kind of style that I'm trying to replicate is from something called a Hanafuda card, like a Japanese card game with like just images of flowers and foliage and sometimes birds. And I never knew that. So you learn something every day, and then like a day later and decide to talk to myself a deck. You know, this is actually the first time that I've ever done like anything folklore, but I'm actually quite enjoying it. You know, I'm doing to try different styles from time to time. That's why I love Scrawlrboxes, because they just take me out of my comfort zone and I try different things I never thought of trying and learn things that I've never known before, like again, Hanafuda. Okay, so I've actually pre-sharpened my pencils and I did cheat a little bit. I did use a sharpener that I already have. This one gives you like this really beautiful sharp point, and from what I'm aware is then they make your pencils last longer and you know there's less breakage. So I'm just adding like very simple details to this. I'm not going to go overboard, and all of these are actually going to be outlined in black, as I've found out within the Hanafuda cards. Everything is like outlined in black, but because I've got the pencils, I'm doing like the details inside the leaves and anything extra in like coloured pencils, just so I'm using them to get different variations of colours. And of course with the pen I'm going to get a lot of different line widths, which I do like when using brush pens. It's like doing line weights, but you can get them like really randomly in odd places rather than strategically putting them where it's like almost in shadow. I mean, if you use line weights, especially in like character designs, and then you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't think that this yellow is going to show up in as much as I thought. I'm just adding subtle little like swirls on the kappa, just a little bit more added detail. I just kind of wish then I could do some shading in this, but in the Hanafuda style, then I've seen some like really blocky colours. You know, I did a little tiny bit there, but it is just mainly block colour. And I just want to be a bit extra and break the rules and add a bit more details into when there aren't any details. I really do love Japanese patterns. They may be so simple and like just wavy lines or, you know, flower petals or something, almost like very Zentangle as well. Yeah, maybe this is like the make or break of it. Is this going to be a good idea, and I've just snapped the tip of that? We don't know, but I just need to fill in this big white area and try and pass it off as like stone. I should have used the pen instead. Alright, so we're finally at the last bit, which is doing the black outline. So like I shown you all earlier, this is our very super fine brush. These things are very unpredictable, but if you do love the unpredictability of thick and thin lines, then this is the pen for you. So let's get into it. Alright, and here we are with the final piece. Now, I am actually really surprised at how well it came out. As I've said many times before, I was not going for like something super clean, super pristine. And so long as you can actually see what's happening, it's all good. Now, I really did have a lot of fun mashing together the two different Scrawlrboxes with the unpredictability of getting like supplies that do not work well together. And as I've mentioned, I really looked with these boxes with markers and pencils, because as you can see, they worked really well together. And I actually did love the supplies that came with the boxes. You know, the markers worked extremely well. I love the colours. They went down really nicely, even though then they don't necessarily work well on cartridge paper. But I actually thought then they were really good quality markers. The pencils weren't just as amazing. They were really good quality. I love the colour selection, and as you see me do, they worked really well on top of the markers. You know, they added the bit extra punch in places. But for me, I think the star of the show was actually the pen. Now, I might actually be extremely biased with this because I really do love this pen. And as you can see throughout the image, I've got like extremely thin lines. I've got these big massive bold lines, and I think then this alone gave like that bit more dimension. So I would actually highly recommend giving this pen a go. So since this was an absolute success, you know, mashing two boxes together and even mashing the prompts together, which again I think worked pretty damn well. And since I haven't released the 4 boxes to catch up on, I'm going to be doing the same thing with the other 4 boxes. So let me know what you guys think. So if you guys would love to have your own Scrawlrbox, I will leave a link in the description box below. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.